In the stillness of the night, as European leaders met in Washington, Ukraine once again faced a massive strike. Dozens of explosions echoed across Poltava region. Witnesses reported a sky lit up by incoming drones and missiles, followed by fires that burned until morning. This was not just another attack. It was a carefully calculated blow aimed directly at Ukraine's energy backbone. The message was clear. Winter is coming, and Russia intends to make it harder than ever. According to reports, Russia launched approximately 50 Geran kamikaze drones, supported by 2 ballistic missiles and 5 cruise missiles. The drones, known as the Geran 2, are Russian-produced variants of the Iranian Shahed 136. Flying low and slow, they overwhelm air defenses through sheer numbers. The ballistic missiles, likely Iskander-M, struck with supersonic speed. The cruise missiles, with their ability to maneuver and fly at low altitude, added another layer of complexity. This combination is designed to saturate Ukrainian air defenses, forcing them to divide attention between multiple threats, arriving from different directions. Russia forced Ukrainian radar and missile systems to track dozens of moving targets simultaneously. When defenses were focused on the drones, the ballistic and cruise missiles slipped through, striking the intended energy nodes with devastating effect. The first target was familiar: the Kremenchuk Oil Refinery, one of Ukraine's key energy facilities. Fires erupted almost instantly, fueled by Azeri light crude oil, a low-sulfur blend imported from Azerbaijan. The refinery has been attacked before, but Russia continues to return to it, recognizing its importance to Ukraine's ability to supply both military vehicles and civilian infrastructure. The burning of imported crude sends another message. Even foreign energy supplies are not safe once they arrive in Ukraine. The second target, however, was far more significant. A gas compressor station near Lubny, part of the main transit system that moves natural gas from eastern Ukraine to Kyiv and further west. This station lies on several major pipelines: Shebelinka, Dikanka, Kyiv, Yelets, Dikanka, Kyiv, and Shebelinka, Pereyaslav, Kyiv. These routes carry natural gas extracted from Kharkiv region fields straight to the capital and beyond. By striking here, Russia targeted not only a piece of infrastructure, but the very artery that keeps Kyiv and central Ukraine supplied with heat, electricity, and industrial power. In essence, the attack was aimed at Ukraine's energy lifeline. Why now? Why target energy infrastructure at this precise moment? The answer lies in timing. Ukraine is preparing for the heating season, a period when gas and energy consumption skyrockets as temperatures plummet. By striking these facilities now, Russia is not only degrading Ukraine's immediate war effort, but also planting seeds of long-term disruption. It is a calculated attempt to weaken morale, stretch resources, and expose vulnerabilities just as the cold months approach. Why strike these 2 facilities? The answer lies in timing. Ukraine is preparing for the upcoming heating season, a period when demand for natural gas skyrockets. By crippling both oil and gas infrastructure now, Russia is attempting to weaken Ukraine's resilience before the first snow falls. In war, timing is everything. Destroying a refinery in summer sends a message, but striking a compressor station in August, just months before winter, turns energy into a weapon of psychological and strategic pressure. What message is Russia sending with these strikes? On one level, it is a warning to Ukraine. Your energy lifelines are vulnerable. On another level, it is directed at the West. European leaders, gathered in Washington at the time of the attack, continue to pledge support for Kyiv. By hitting infrastructure that connects Ukraine's energy system with Europe, Russia reminds them that their own security is intertwined with Ukraine's fate. The implication is clear. As long as the war continues, energy stability in Europe remains at risk. So, the critical question emerges. Can Ukraine repair this damage before winter sets in? The answer is complicated. Gas infrastructure is more resilient than power grids in some respects. Pipelines can sometimes be rerouted, and compressor stations can be bypassed temporarily. However, repairs require specialized equipment, technical expertise, and above all, time. With each new strike, that timeline lengthens, and the margin for error shrinks. If repeated attacks occur, Ukraine may find itself struggling to maintain consistent gas pressure in the network feeding Kyiv and beyond. Another pressing question is, can Ukraine's air defense adapt to this blended strategy of drones and missiles? Western-supplied systems have performed admirably, but Russia's evolving use of swarm tactics pushes the limits of even advanced systems. To adapt, Ukraine will likely need more short-range defenses to pick off drones cheaply, saving high-value interceptors for larger missiles. But those resources are not limitless. If Russia sustains this tempo, Ukrainian defenses could be stretched thin, leaving critical infrastructure increasingly exposed. And then comes the question of Western resolve. How long can Europe and the United States continue providing the financial and technical lifelines that Ukraine's energy sector requires? Each repair operation draws on international funding. Each replacement turbine, transformer, or compressor unit often comes from abroad. As political debates intensify in Washington and European capitals, the uncertainty of sustained support casts a long shadow. If Western aid falters, the resilience of Ukraine's infrastructure will be tested like never before. Perhaps the most profound question is this: is this the beginning of a broader campaign to systematically dismantle Ukraine's energy grid ahead of winter? All signs suggest that it may be. By targeting both oil and gas in a single night, Russia demonstrated an awareness of the dual nature of energy in war: fuel for machines and heat for people. Cutting one weakens the military. Cutting the other weakens society. Together, they threaten the endurance of an entire nation. Strategically, the strike also sends a message to the West. While NATO leaders meet abroad, Russia reminds them that it retains escalation tools that can pressure Ukraine indirectly. The destruction of energy nodes does not merely hurt Ukraine, it threatens the stability of energy supplies across the region, potentially affecting transit flows to Europe. It is a reminder that the war's consequences are not confined to the battlefield.